Vishmaya in San Francisco, coming to you again on a very rainy night, because that's just the way we're going to roll nowadays in California. I think it's just going to be nonstop rain until, who knows, getting used to it. It's very illustrative of the Pisces energy right now, and Pisces season, which is super watery. And that's what I want to talk about, actually. So Mercury is retrograde in Pisces at the moment, and I discussed this a little bit on my new moon in Pisces video. And I thought I want to go a little deeper with it, especially because this is one of my favorite topics, which is dream work. And Mercury retrograde in Pisces is all about the dream work and working with the unconscious. So if ever there was a time to delve into your unconscious and understand what's going on behind all of those, what we call compulsion to repeat experiences, reenactments of our past, projections onto people we love, we want to look at the unconscious. And how do we get insight into our unconscious? Well, one of the best ways is through dream work. So if you're one of those people that says, I can never remember my dreams, I don't dream, I don't want to have to try to remember my dreams because it wakes me up and then it messes with my sleep and they're always weird anyway, or I know what they mean. I always tell my clients, first and foremost, you have to have reverence for your dream. You can't treat it like, you can't dismiss it. Once we get into that kind of dismissive energy of the dream where we just say, you know, I know what it was, or it doesn't really matter, that's already disregarding your unconscious, which is like a good mother when you honor her. And if you really want to have a dialogue, you really want to open up a dialogue with your unconscious, reverence is number one, I always say. Number two, the unconscious needs ritual because it's very impressionable. So we need to ritualize the dream space. So you need to show your unconscious that you have a sacred space for your dreams and that you're going to honor your dreams. And that can be as simple as just putting a journal next to your bed before you go to sleep, opening it up and writing a question to your unconscious that you would like to work on in your dream. Like maybe you have a reoccurring issue or there's something bothering you or troubling you that you'd like to get some insight on. You can write this in your journal and leave the journal open and then let it go and just trust that your unconscious is going to work on the problem. This is why a lot of people will even say, when I can't solve a problem, I just need to sleep and I might wake up with the answer. It's kind of a similar thing. But here we're actually inviting the unconscious to help us process through maybe an emotional situation or some kind of something more personal that we want to have resolution or we want to have insight, we want to become more conscious about. You can ask your dreams through the journal. So that's step one. Then next, if you have a hard time remembering your dreams, I always recommend choosing something in your room that you can use as an anchor. So you make that the dream anchor. So meaning, when you see that object, like let's say I see my bookshelf and there's a specific book called Creation Myth on my bookshelf, and I want to remember my dream, I'll say to myself, okay, when I wake up, the first thing when I see this book, Creation Myth, I'm going to remember my dream. And it really works. You can try it if you don't believe me. And that's a great way of remembering dreams. If you have someone you share your dreams with, some people like to talk them out with someone, that person becomes your dream anchor in a way. When you know you're going to talk to them, dreams might come back to you. But it's good if you actually have an object in your room. So dreams can disappear so fast, if you haven't noticed. They are like the fish in Pisces. Like they just go right back down under the water and you're like, I want to pull it up. I can't remember. Sometimes I've noticed if you're in bed and you wake up and you're like, oh, what was that? But you moved positions, body positions. If you go back to the position or the side of, if you were laying on the left side, let's say, and you've flipped to the right, sometimes if you go back to that body position where you were having the dream, it can help you remember too, I've noticed. And sometimes you can even go back to sleep and keep dreaming the dream. I love when that happens. That's not always the case, but it's amazing the powers of the unconscious. So anyway, not to get off track, but these are some simple but effective tools for dream recall. And I'm going to be doing a longer class of helping people work with their dreams. I've done several Project 40s with this theme of helping people work on dreams for 40 days. And I obviously do it in my practice every day with my one-on-one clients. But I believe so passionately about the power of dream work that I want to help you during this Pisces, Mercury retrograde in Pisces season, which will continue through April 15th, actually, before we clear the shadow of Mercury, this Mercury retrograde. It's such an optimal time, especially right now, because we just had the new moon in Pisces, the sun's with Neptune. I mean, it couldn't be more Piscean right now. So this is an amazing time to work with dreams. So I'm going to be developing this class, so stay tuned on that for people who haven't been able to join me, or even if you have and you want to go deeper into the dream work. I hope you'll join me for the class intensive. But in the meantime, I wanted to just give you some tools so you could start working on the dreams. And I also have been working with a group, which has been so nice with Uranus and Taurus. I actually have a group of women in my priestess training, and we're delving deep into dreams during this phase of our work. We just started in February, and we're deep in the dream work, and it's so powerful. I just love dream incubation, dream work, and I do it on all my retreats as well. So I can't emphasize it enough. So once you have the dream to work with, the next thing you do is, of course, you have to decode it. And that's where people often have a difficult time, because again, our ego wants to say, oh, I know what this means, or I just dreamt this because I saw this thing last night that it reminds me of. I was watching this show last night and then it filtered into my dreams. Or I took some, sometimes that does affect if you take like NyQuil or something, it can mess with your dreams. So maybe that's not a good example, but there's just a tendency that we want to write off sometimes really numinous material and just say, I know what that is. So don't do that. Even if it doesn't seem numinous, even if it seems like, well, I just dreamt about, this blue car that was going up the street and it was just going really fast. But, I remember this blue car I saw yesterday. Well, that's the point. There was something about the fact that you decided to track and bring that blue car back into your dreams, your unconscious did, that it's showing up. And you want to be curious. You want to have not only a reverent approach to your dreams, but you want to be curious about what the dream symbol could mean. And so now you would say, okay, take the blue car, for example, and then free associate. You might think, oh, well, I just saw it yesterday. But what else do you associate with the color blue? What else do you associate with cars? What about cars going really fast? What about cars going up a hill? Where was this hill? What does the hill remind you of? Who was driving the car? What was your relationship to that car? All of these things. And we also approach, in the kind of dream work I do, we approach every image in the dream as a piece of ourself, as a part of ourself, which again, I'll get more into this in the dream class. But the next thing you can do is to decode the dream through free association. So what we do next is we often ask you to come up with at least 5 personal associations to each symbol. So you break it down. There's many different ways of working. I'm kind of just giving you a fast overview, just to show you that it's not impossible to just kind of start delving into your dreams. So you would come up with some personal associations, and I recommend that first before you go out Googling, because that's what most people do. They have a dream and they just Google, or they pull out a book and they just look it up. And, that has its usefulness if you've already done some of your personal work with the dream symbol, because you first and foremost want to know what it is for you. And you don't want to superimpose something on top of it that maybe doesn't have resonance with you. You want to know why you want to approach it like, why did my unconscious or my soul choose this particular image right now? And what does it mean specifically? What could it mean? What could be the potential that it's alluding to? Or what is it even trying to cover up? Sometimes our symbols are trying to cover up something, and when you dig deep enough, you see, ooh, actually, this is what's underneath that. And that is the real power of a symbol, is that, you excavate it and you see all of the pieces. Jung actually said to carry our dreams around with us for a long time like a precious object, crystal that you're examining from all different facets. Because the dream will work on you over time. Dreams are very powerful, and don't expect to get it all in one fell swoop. Some are more seemingly obvious, but even those, if you really sit with them, you carry them around with you for long enough, they'll keep working on you. Those are the really good dreams, the ones that years later you're still remembering. Those are the archetypal, the what we call the numinous dreams. And they come, and but you don't want to wait just for those, and you don't want to dismiss the other kinds of dreams, because it's all a deeper process. And I always say, the way the unconscious is, if you create a container, it'll allow you to go deeper. If you don't really have the container and your unconscious knows you're not going to take the time to work with your dreams, chances are you're not going to really get the material you want to work with, you know. Although there's times when people don't want to remember their dreams or do the inner work and the unconscious comes screaming at you. So sometimes you don't have a choice. You're going to have nightmares or insomnia until you deal with the dream. The unconscious is very powerful. So anyway, this was just kind of a little bit of a quick preview of the kind of dream work I do, and I hope you'll join me for the class. I will have more information up about that on my website in the coming week. And you know, the other way of working with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, of course, is to, and why we want to work with the dreams is to take back our projections on other people, because without realizing it, we're reenacting and replaying, and we call it projection, putting onto a present situation something that happened to us in the past and seeing it through that lens, and not actually seeing the person or the word, hearing the words or seeing the situation for what it is, separate from our projection of the past onto it. So meaning, you know, if you had like a really overbearing mother and somebody says, hey, you know, blah, 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 and there's no intention to be overbearing in that other person, you may hear it. All you hear is that person wants something from me, and that person is so controlling. Maybe if you're projecting your mother onto them. Or maybe you had a critical father, and so somebody says, hey, you know, you might want to do it this way. And you're like, wow, you know, because you just hear the critical father. And maybe that person's actually just being constructively supportive of you in that moment. Things like that. I mean, just as kind of, these are very stereotype generalizations, but they're not so bad actually, because those do come up a lot in relationships. So the point is that we often will reflect and project our past and reenact our past until we make it conscious. As Jung said, until the conscious is made conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. I think that's a quote, something along those lines. And the point is that until it's made conscious, we think it's fate, but it's really just us replaying, recreating, repurposing all of our old, unhealed psychic material. And I feel Mercury retrograde in Pisces, not Mercury in retrograde. Please don't get me started with that. Is an opportunity for us to really clean things up with our unconscious and our projections, and to really come into the present. So when we enter Mercury in Aries, we enter the vernal equinox, we enter the Aries season, and we're fully immersed in Chiron and Aries healing. We're going to be in the moment, moment to moment, dealing with things as they are, much more than carrying that victim archetype or that old baggage of Pisces that is not allowing us to be in the moment and see things as they're coming to us in their immediate essence, right? So this is a great inspiration for doing the Pisces work, and I hope that you'll take time to really reflect and journal and pay attention to your dreams. Thanks so much for watching.